TI pairs. And TI pairs specialize, you can see it here, in finding correlations and shifts between different symbols. So why is this important? Well, imagine you want to establish a portfolio, trading portfolio. But you also don't want to, you want to diversify, and you don't want to double down. For this, you need to understand which symbols have correlations. What is a correlation? Well, simply put, a correlation in the simplest form is as follows. If one symbol goes up, let's say, I'm just going to make something up. If NVIDIA goes up, maybe AMD will also go up at the same time because they are somewhat correlated. I just made this up. This may not be the case for these two symbols. If one goes up, the other one will go up as well. We call this a direct correlation. So one goes up, the other one will go up. One goes down, the other one will go down as well. That's one form of correlation. We could also have what we call an inverse correlation, meaning if one goes up, the other one may go down. So in this case, you want to avoid of being long one symbol and perhaps short the other one, because once again, you would double dip. And in trading, double dipping typically means you would take on too much risk. You want to diversify with symbols which are typically not correlated. All right. So this is visualized to you by our TI pairs indicator. How does it work? Well, you can see the different pairs here, and you can create this matrix, basically. In this case, we're comparing 10 different symbols. And you can see, for example, that ES in the future space, the S&P E-mini futures, and NQ, they are highly directly correlated. These numbers go from plus 100 to minus 100. A value around 100 means extreme direct correlation. Yeah? Values close to minus 100, minus 79 or minus 64 means strong indirect correlation. For example, here, NQ and gold, at that point when we took this one, they have an indirect correlation. And this can change over time, of course. This is visualized to you by our TI pairs indicator. And one more thing, let me just go to this one here. It is also possible for symbols which are highly correlated to determine, okay, perhaps one of them is currently a laggard and one of them is a front runner by these symbols here. Why would that be important? Imagine you have ES and NQ. They're directly correlated. But as it turns out, one of them, in this case ES, is currently leading the pack. It's pushing higher. This could mean that NQ, since they're both correlated, needs to play catch up. And this could warrant for a trade where you would establish, let's say, a long position in NQ, anticipating, okay, it needs to catch up to ES, which is a front runner. Okay, so this is also visible by these little symbols here in our TI pairs indicator. We do have a masterclass on this, so I'm not going to get too much into detail because now we want to show you how does this indicator work on MotiveWave. So Niklas, could you take over and show us how this indicator looks like on our MotiveWave platform, how it can be configured? Niklas, are you there?
Yep, sorry, I was muted. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Perfect.
All right.
Okay, so here on this chart, I've got TI pairs for MotiveWave applied to the chart down here in the bottom center. So we've seen before TI pairs on TradingView, and it's pretty much the same thing on MotiveWave. So you're going to find it in Trading Indicators, the little menu down here called TI pairs. And the indicator, the only difference on MotiveWave relative to TradingView is that you define the symbols personally. So you have to custom define each of the symbols in the matrix. This is just due to a quirk in MotiveWave where the user has to determine the instruments if a study or strategy references multiple ones. So you can see here, for example, I've got the matrix set up, TI pairs, to show 10 different symbols. I've selected them. I'm on the chart of Apple. I select Apple, Microsoft, RTX, all the way down through Oracle and Intel. 10 symbols. I entered that in here. You can use up to 12 or define up to 12 symbols. And once that's done, it's going to calculate for the short-term time frame and the longer-term time frame the correlation between each of these symbols. So, for example, here I can see the correlation between GE, which I think might be General Electric, and Apple. There's a little star here because we're on the chart of Apple, is in the short term very inversely correlated, minus 73.4, and the longer term minus 23.8. You can see all these different correlations. One of these settings inside the correlation menu here is you can define, well, what really constitutes a correlation? Is it plus or minus 60 or plus or minus 70, 80, whatever you would like it to be? You can then also make it so that you're filtering this matrix to only point out the ones that have a strong correlation according to your threshold here. So I might say, hey, I only want to know about the symbols that have 80, and I only want to show the result if they're correlated. So now we can see this has been narrowed down. We're only seeing the symbols and pairs that have some sort of strong correlation, like Goldman Sachs and RTX here. On the longer term, it's 94.1, on the short term, 80. Citigroup and RTX, 94 and 98, so on and so forth. And over on the right here, and just one other thing, so you can change the number of symbols shown inside of the matrix. And the main setting to make the matrix more visible, I would say, is probably this, the font size. So the size of the matrix changes with the font size that you've selected. You can also use bold, etc., different fonts. You can change the position. You can determine to use or not use a color theme or change your color theme. And these on the right side of the diagonal over here, this is what we call leading and lagging correlations, which will inform you whether or not the symbol right over here. So the first symbol, Microsoft. So in this correlation right here, Microsoft and RTX, we can see there's a rocket here, which means Microsoft leads RTX by what we call a number of leading or lagging bars, which basically means that Microsoft tends to make a move. So Microsoft and RTX right here, MSFT, RTX, have a short-term strong correlation, 86, and Microsoft tends to lead RTX by first making a move, and then afterwards RTX will tend to follow the move. So we've seen in a past presentation, maybe we can do one of these again, in one of our live trading sessions or something like this, but how often this can be useful information. So for example here, GE and RTX, we can see that there's very, very, very strong correlation, 98 and 98. And we can also see that if we run along here, RTX to GE, RTX tends to lead GE, which means because they have such a high correlation that let's say GE is flat and it's trading sideways, and then RTX starts to pick up upwards and quickly moves up. Well, we know that GE tends to follow afterwards since RTX leads it in that correlation. So maybe we can preemptively enter in on a trade expecting a move to happen in GE after the fact. That's a rocket emoji to say if something's leading, and then there's a little turtle emoji to say if it's lagging. Lagging with that symbol. So we can see RTX is lagging Goldman Sachs in their correlation. Finally, I'm going to make sure we have quick settings here so you can easily define the different symbols inside of your correlation matrix. You can change the themes. I think I've covered pretty much everything on MotiveWave for TI pairs here, Daniel. It's a chart indicator, and I think it's quite straightforward.
Yeah, and just keep it on for 1 second. When you said in the beginning, and just to clarify this, that the difference to TradingView is, if you go back to the symbol settings, is that you have to define your symbols manually. This relates to the case that in TradingView we do have a couple of predefined we'll call watch lists that you can choose from. In MotiveWave, this is not possible. This is due to a platform limitation. So you would need to just enter these manually, but of course you can then save these in your settings afterwards. Maybe Nicholas quickly show.
Yeah, exactly. So here, I've made a matrix of 12 symbols. I can then hop in here and say, hey, save defaults. And I wonder, actually, I think that's a new feature. So now if I delete the study and I come back, TI pairs, add it up. There's that matrix we had. But I wonder, I haven't seen this yet. I think this is MotiveWave 7 templates. So let me just see. Stocks, TI pairs. Okay, what does that do? Come in here. Let's reset the defaults here. Now I have a template Oh, there you go. So you could actually save. So that's great. With the new template feature, you could save different templates. So maybe I'll select cryptos. I could save that as my cryptos TI pairs, futures, FX, so on and so forth. Create some templates, and you can easily load up these different lists of symbols.